So if there's a housing market trend that's been happening in the last 4 weeks or so in Utah, it's basically still happening. Let's take a closer look at it and see how you can take advantage of what the numbers are showing us. My name is Christopher McGee. I'm the owner of Halcyon Real Estate. Halcyon Real Estate is affiliated with the Keller Williams market in Salt Lake City, Utah. Today is the 14th of August, and this is the numbers and the nuance where you come every Monday to know exactly what's going on in Utah's housing market. I'm pulling numbers right off the MLS so that you can have access to raw, unadulterated data, just like I do as a licensed realtor. Real quick before we jump into the numbers, as always, if you're confused about what any of these numbers mean, please feel free to watch my Real Estate Numbers Explained video, and it'll go over all of these numbers in more detail, what it means when it's up or down. Let's go ahead and check out the numbers from last week. All right, our inventory currently sits at 8,735. So that means it shot up by about 250 from the previous week, and the trend has been consistently up since the beginning of April. And this has been one of the sharper pushes up this last week that we've seen in that since April time, since the beginning of the second quarter. Average days on market, the average amount of time a property sits on the market before it accepts an offer and goes under contract, on average that is now 45 days. That's up 1 day more than it was on average from the previous week. It was trending close to 40-ish on average, and it's been creeping up for the last 3-4 weeks. It's a slow trend, but it's there. Average list price for a home last week came to $695,051. Average sold price for a property last week came to $681,883. The difference between those two numbers tells us which way the market is going. So list versus sold price, the difference there came to $14,051. And that's down just a little bit further away from no difference between those two numbers than it was the previous week by a little over $4,400. And this actually shoots us out further away from no difference since February of this year. Number of homes sold last week was 533, which really keeps us right smack in the middle of the trend that we've had. The number of homes under contract right now comes to 4,811. That's down about 45 from the previous week. This has been trending gently down for almost 2 months now. This is the 5th week of it being below 5,000. Hasn't been below 5,000 since March. The number of times a seller reduced the asking price on their home last week came to 940. That's down by about 55 from the previous week, but it has, as you can see, been trending up since the beginning of the second quarter. And finally, the number of listing contracts that were either canceled, expired, or withdrawn the previous week came to 271. Down sharply from the previous week by about 135, so really just back down from that first Monday of the month spike that we had last week into our typical just below 300 range that we've had for about 5 months now. All right, there's two things that are most important to me as I'm looking at this data. First, as always, inventory continuing to come up. I've been saying it for months and it bears repeating. Inventory being low, especially super low, indicates prices getting highly inflated. In the year 2021, just a couple of years ago, our inventory got as low as 2,000, even as low as 1,500 at times. And with it that low, that was the year that Utah homes shot up in value more than any other year in recent history. Utah homes went up by 30% in value. So if at the beginning of the year 2021, you had a home worth 300K, and at the end of 2021, you had a home worth at or around 400K, and that kind of inflation over that short amount of time, the primary driver for that is super low inventory. So we love to see inventory coming up. I keep saying that. I will keep saying that until we get to like 12,000 inventory. So we're at 8,700 and some change right now. We could come up another 1,000, 2,000. If we went up about 3,000, then that would indicate a lot of things really being stacked for the buyer. We're definitely not there right now, but that's the direction we're going. And really we're still within seller market territory, about another 1,000, and we're looking at a balanced market, at least in terms of inventory meeting the demand of the amount of people who want to buy a home and live in Utah. And the second thing, most important, looking at this data, I said this in more depth in last week's video, but I'll just summarize it here again. All these trends that we're having right now, all these things really push in the direction of being in favor of the buyer. We can see that when we look at the difference between list price on average and sold price on average. For some time, it's been getting further away from zero. We had We got it as close to just above like 5,000. It's starting to drop sharply again. So we don't know how long that trend will continue, but looking at all these other trends go the direction they are going in favor of the buyer. We really see, I don't have a crystal ball, or I do, but maybe it's a little foggy, and the foggy crystal ball says that there's a high likelihood of things continue to go in the direction of being in favor of the buyer. The two things that stop it being an absolutely all-out market for buyers is, of course, the relatively high interest rates, really, but remember, they're just high relative to recent history. The interest rates that we had in recent history aren't sustainable long term. So what we have right now is about average interest rates. Do we want them lower? Of course. There's a lot of people forecasting the economy who think that, watching the Fed and what's important to them before they lower interest rates, who think that it will be coming down in the near future here, or at least that they're done hiking it. But interest rates being relatively high and homes as inflated as they are in Utah are the two things that keep buyers from just going nuts and it being an all-out buyer's market. But the direction of the numbers that the MLS tracks, the direction of those numbers is really favoring buyers right now. To be clear, like I said last week, if you are a ready, willing, and able buyer, this is a market that's slightly favoring you. That's it this week, guys. As always, if you or anybody you know is thinking to buy or sell a home in Utah in the coming months, please reach out to me and let me know. I'd love to help. I love knowing people are well served. So I mean, if you have a favorite cousin or something that does real estate, they're going to do an excellent job, they're going to be communicative, and they know the market and they know the numbers, feel free to work with them. If you don't have somebody that's go-to, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm all those things. I know the market, I know the numbers, I'm highly communicative, and like I said, I'd be happy to work for you. And other than that, yeah, if you want to stay as well educated as I am on the market from week to week, just hit subscribe and you'll be able to do that, because these are all, again, raw, unadulterated data numbers from the MLS. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.